Excellent behavior. That's one of the 2 jobs done. Share screen. Here's the chestnut. Okay, so share screen. Oh my gosh, screen. Just share my screen. There we go, screen. Okay. Okay, well, never mind. Sorry about this. It's just my laptop does it different. Can you see the camera?
We can see just that you started sharing.
It says
But
Laura's
not-
has started screen sharing, but no picture.
Instead. So just try one more time. Never mind. What to do? Right, getting this on my. What I'll do is stop that share for a minute because it obviously wasn't working, and I will try one more time to do this. Sorry about this. We'll get there, or we won't, and we'll just have to deal with it. Okay, hold the phone. I've got an idea. Does that work?
Yay!
Yeah, cookies are good. Okay. Hallelujah. So, very boring Zoomy stuff done there. So, yeah, welcome to School of Tarot. So this is obviously a taster session, and I am starting my 10-week tarot school in October, where we're going to go into some of the things. Yes, it's working. Some of the things that we'll be covering, but the thing is, over the 10 weeks, we go in depth. We have live calls every week that are recorded on my laptop, not on my tablet, because this is a bit more awkward. But yeah, and we go into the history of the tarot. We go into uses of the tarot, and all of a week on the major arcana, well, 3 weeks on the major arcana, and a week each on the different elemental suits. But today we're going to do a little bit deep dive for the next 45 minutes, and then we've got lots of time for questions as well. So my journey to the tarot was started about 20 years ago. Well, actually, maybe more like 40 years ago, because I found, when I was very little, I found a tarot deck in my mum's spare room, and was very fascinated by all the imagery. But when I was about, in my early 20s, I just randomly, in inverted commas, randomly signed up for a tarot class, because I was like, right, I'm just going to do something, make some changes, signed up for the tarot class. Little did I know that this tarot class would be defining the shape of where the next 20 years of my life were going to go. I had no intentions of ever being a tarot reader. I was just interested in the different ways of working with the tarot. But throughout this course, me and the tarot became very good friends, and I was the teacher threw me in the deep end as soon as I finished, and got me doing a tarot event at a massive mind, body, and spirit event at Olympia. And as the tarot has a great sense of humor, my first ever paying client at this event was freaking out, and she was like, I just don't want the death card. I just don't want the death card. And of course, the first card that came up was the death card. And she literally screamed. And the echo, if you've been to Olympia, it's a very old, echoey building. And she screamed, and it echoed throughout the whole of the building. So it's a miracle that I went on to continue doing tarot reading, because that was quite traumatic. But I did carry on, and I went on to work on Psychic TV for about a lot of years. I was on a Psychic TV show for many, many years, and I've worked many events up and down the country, and I've been teaching tarot since, well, probably for the last 10, 15 years. So I'm really passionate about the many different ways we can enter the tarot. And if we can get this moving forward, let's go to the next screen. Yes, something has happened. What I love about the tarot is that people often approach the tarot to do readings as a divinationary system. And that is wonderful. And it's one of the main and most popular ways of working with the tarot. And it's one of the biggest mysteries of working with the tarot as well, because it does really, really work as a divination system. You are able to look at a person's life and see what is a snippet of what's going on with them now, maybe what they're feeling, what they're thinking, looking at their past, looking at their future. You can also look at what likely opportunities they have and maybe their compatibility with other people. So there's a myriad of ways you can do readings. And I don't know about you guys, but the way I always find the tarot loves to be spoken to is when we take personal power ourselves. When we say, what's going to happen, or does he love me? Or I don't know, just a question where we're giving the power elsewhere, we'll get answers. If we ask it a zillion times, we get less cool answers. But when we ask questions like, how do I fulfill my potential? What do I need to do to bring more love into my life? How can I better my spiritual path? What do I need to do to acknowledge my own power? Then the tarot absolutely kicks ass. Then it shows us some wonderful, powerful imagery. So it's something to think about in the future when you're doing readings for yourself or for others, is the questions are important. If we ask powerful questions which empower us, the tarot appreciates it. The gods of the tarot get behind us. If we keep throwing our power away, I mean, I've done it a zillion times and I'll do it again. When you're upset, when you want to know something, that is the way you want to know. But when we can take a step back, center ourselves, align, and ask these powerful questions, then we get the most wonderful answers. So in a nutshell, what is the tarot? It's a set of 22 major Arcana cards, which you can see on the screen. This is the Thoth deck there. And you have 50, and you also have the Thoth deck, which is something we don't go into so much in the RedWitch School of Tarot, but I am doing extra classes about the Thoth deck. And then we also have all the court cards. We have the cards, the decks, the suits, the wands, the pentacles, the swords, and the cups. And I know most of you all know this about the tarot, that the major arcana represents the huge journey of our lives. It represents the pathway of the soul, the evolution of our own personal gnosis and wisdom. And it also represents, the major arcana represents the big things that happen for us, the major life events, the opportunities for us to grow, to change, and to take huge steps in our life, spiritually, physically, and emotionally. The cards, the suits of the wands, the minor arcana, and the pentacles, the cups, and the swords, they all represent more sort of day-to-day things, the smaller events that are no less significant and important to us, but maybe will be passing and shifting. They can represent where our energy is at the moment. They represent people in our life and situations we are going through. They each have their own journey as well. So the major arcana has the Fool's journey, which we'll speak about shortly. But the minor arcana, each suit has its own journey you go through, from the ace through to the 10 and the court cards. So you go on a mini journey with each of the suits, and they can teach you so much about how to deal and how not to deal with our thoughts, our emotions, our energy, and our money and health. So the tarot has been used over the years as playing cards, which is something we'll talk about in a second, as spiritual systems, so initiatory systems. That's been used for writer's block, for telling stories. It's been used for meditation, so that you can journey into the cards and learn more about yourself and the different energies. It's also been used for spellcraft, and there are many other ways you can work with the tarot. Oops, make it the screen again. There we go. So this is the deck that most people know when they think about the tarot. It's the Rider-Waite, or more correctly, the Smith-Waite tarot. We say the Smith-Waite because basically Waite was the guy that wrote it, that had the ideas around it, but Rider was the publisher. Pamela Foreman Smith was the artist, and she is often written out of the tarot. So it's the more correct and awesome way to say it is the Smith-Waite tarot. It's the most well-known tarot deck and was published in 1909. And most of the decks we're going to see in the shops that we want to buy a zillion copies of are based upon this deck. However, these were not the first cards or not the first representations of the tarot. If we go back in time to sort of the mid 15th century, we have the Visconti tarot, which originates from northern Italy, and that's one of the first representations we have of the themes of the tarot. And they were made as a quote unquote playing card deck, and they had the archetypes on them, and they had them very similar to how we see them now. And they were seen, some at first, to be, kind of representatives of archetypes in medieval society. Apart from, there are two, at least, powerful archetypes on here that would have caused a complete ruckus at that time. The first being the High Priestess. The idea of saying that the female had spiritual power back in those days, and that she was a priestess, that you could actually access divine feminine through a woman, would have possibly got you burned. So the fact that this is being said, and it's got different names, the papess, over the years, but this represents a female in spiritual power at a time when it wasn't seen in churches or in spiritual culture. So we have that one that suggests that something else is going on here. This is not just archetypes. There's a message, there's a story. And then we have the Hanged Man, who's in the middle row there. And he is hanging upside down on a tree to achieve enlightenment. And his legs are always or often placed in that upside down 4 shape. And you can see that even though there's depictions of the Hanged Man being literally hanged, the most common way of seeing the Hanged Man now is that he is not hung as a punishment, he is hung to receive enlightenment, much like Odin hanging himself on Yggdrasil for 9 days and nights to receive the wisdom of the runes. This is a pathway to enlightenment. And so many people can see the tarot as, okay, this is just a wonderful tool for divination, for and I use that daily for readings. But the powerful seat behind it is that this deck of cards and this journey through the tarot is a journey of soul, is a path of enlightenment. The wonderful and the deceased Rachel Pollock, who's a tarot scholar, wrote a wonderful book called The 78 Degrees of Wisdom. And she has that each tarot card is a reflection, is a mirror to the soul. It is a detail of our life being reflected back to us. And I think that is a wonderful way of seeing the tarot, all the tarot. And in this, so as you can see on the screen, we have the Fool, who always floats around. I mean, I place him at the beginning. You can place the Fool wherever you like. He is 0. He is able to pop up around on this journey at the beginning, at the end, or wherever you would like to place him. But if we look at the 3 lines of the tarot here, there's different ways of splitting up the tarot. You can break it in half. You can have it in the center. You can have two lines, but I like the 3 lines because they, for me, represent 3 journeys and pathways through life. So you have the Magician through to the Chariot, the Strength card through to the Temperance card, and the Devil through to the World. Now, again, within the school, we spend a week on each of these rows, and it's completely interactive to deeply discuss each of these rows. But for now, the first row the magician through to the chariot is those foundational parts of life, is the fundaments that create a healthy human, really. The magician is the spark of life, is the energy. He's doing his BG stance there. He's connecting to the divine lightning, the divine light of heaven that's flowing down through him so he can manifest. He is number one. He is the ego. He is there. He is making things happening. And he is that spark that is necessary. Otherwise, stuff doesn't get done. The high priestess is the receptive. She is the space to breathe, to feel, to know, to deeply understand. And she's a space for divine life to be brought into. So the high priestess is sort of, she protects the tarot because she sits between two pillars. We'll look a bit more closely at her imagery later, but she sits between the dark and the light pillar. And this is, if you can see on the screen, or if you've got a tarot deck with you, there's a veil that's behind her with pomegranates on, which is a discussion for another time. But that veil she guards. So she guards the psyche. You know, if we all got the mysteries, the great mysteries of life and of tarot on day one, on the first day of seeking, we've all probably met people or known people that have gone a bit nuts from too much spiritual energy going through them, that haven't guarded themselves. She is there to keep us sane. She doesn't allow us to see things we're not ready to see. She is the initiatrix. She is there to open the way, but to guard our pathway, to guard our psyche. She is our intuition, and she represents something that this world doesn't really appreciate: silence, waiting, listening, being open to answers. So she's you have the magician and the high priestess, and they're like the psychic mother and father. Then you have the empress and the emperor, who are more like our earthly mother and father. The empress is Venus, is the goddess incarnate on earth. She is fertility and love and growth. And the emperor, being more Aries, is the one that is necessary to bring boundaries, to build something strong for yourself. So the emperor represents forces of order, of control, of building, of having boundaries, of being the one, maybe channeling the magician energy, making things happen, building a future, being the emperor and taking control. The Hierophant is also seen as one of the spiritual fathers. You could have the high priestess and the Hierophant as a couple working together. The Hierophant guards our wisdom. So the Hierophant is I know it can be a bit of a challenging archetype for people nowadays. He can be seen as the high priest or the shaman or different names in this day and age. But the Hierophant guards the wisdom that we're taught. So, you know, when we graduate, when we initiate, when we pass the test, the Hierophant holds us in that space practically, and the priestess holds us in it spiritually. So here we are, we've kind of got our psychic knowing, we've got our power, we have mother and father there, we've passed the test. Then the Lover's card, we recognize passion and desire. We want that other, we want the Kundalini, the energy rising, and the desire to meet and to connect with others. So there is potentially the blessing of a relationship there, or the discovery of the passion and the power of love and desire. And then the last one in this row is the Chariot, which is all about, I guess it's like if this was a journey through life, when you're ready to move house, move out of your parents' house, you're ready to take on life. The Chariot is, I've got all this wisdom, I've learned from all of these archetypes, and now I'm ready to move forward. Again, you can see the black and the white, akin to the priestess there in the Sphinxes. This is about, the black represents the unconscious knowledge, and the white represents the conscious knowledge. I know I'm doing a whistle stop tour. I know it's a lot. We'll have questions afterwards. And also, if you come on the course, we will do this a lot more slowly. But I just love the repetitive themes. You have the left side, the unconscious, and the light side, the conscious. Very much linked to Kabbalah. Again, no time mentioning that just now, but the paths of between the conscious and the unconscious is where the priestess sits, and where the charioteer is ready to move forward. He has gained some knowledge of the unconscious and the conscious, and now he's ready to move forward in life. Some people a lot of people actually are quite happy with just the first row in life. You know, you go to school, you pass your test, you might meet a partner, you can move out and buy a house, sorted. But life often doesn't let us stay there. Life tests us, especially if you're a seeker or on a spiritual path. Life will definitely throw a zillion and one curveballs at you. And so here we have the second line, the second row. And this is the journey. I call this a journey inwards, the journey of knowing yourself better. So I won't go into it in detail because we'll be here all night. But the strength card would be, you know, strength in the tarot doesn't represent muscles or power or fighting. Strength is fortitude, strength is a woman, and strength is in harmony with a lion. So it is inner strength. This is being able to manage and harness your own power. The hermit, to know yourself, we need to go on the hermit's journey. And just very briefly, though I know I'm throwing a zillion things at you, there are 3 magicians in the major arcana. There's the magician, and he is obviously the magician. There is the Hierophant, who is the magician of learning, of studying, of society. He's the one that would hold the rituals. He's the one that would be physically attending and teaching and guiding you. And then we have the Hermit, who is the wandering magician. He's Gandalf, he's Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's Merlin, he's Odin. He's the wandering magician, the one that goes off to learn through solitude or through journeying through the worlds. The Wheel of Fortune is, no matter how much preparation we do, life is going to change and throw things at us and bring opportunities, and we will lose things as well. Justice, rebalance. Hanged Man is that second level of initiation. Death, temperance. I can't go on about them all now, but these are all deep psychological as well as practical journeys that will go on in life. So the second row is more of that learning of to kind of grow as a human through life's experiences. And then the third line, well, not everyone has to go through this line in life. You know, this is one that only those who really want to understand more deeply the mysteries really do journey with. And people kind of go, we've been to the death and temperance, and then we get Devil in the Tower. Sweet Lord. Yes. Again, I'm sure you've all got your own theories and thoughts upon this. We won't go into it today, but when we've been on this spiritual journey, I think you all have experienced this yourself, that when you've had these amazing spiritual experiences, you've gone out, been on a retreat, learned something wonderful, came back to your normal life, and shit hits the fan. So because we've shifted, we've kind of grown, the things that we thought were okay are now very much not okay. Our shadows are being shown to us, and things have to shift. And as terrible and as stressful as that looked at the beginning of the last row, we come out through absolute beauty. The last line for me is all about heavenly light. It's you know, the first line is a spark of light, the middle line is kind of our inner light, and the third line is heavenly light. The first one being light, sorry, the second one being lightning, but then the star, the moon, the sun, the judgment card coming from above but bringing new life to you, and then the world, the globe, the everything, the completion. So I think I went into that a little bit more than I planned to, but that in a nutshell is, I was going to take a break here because before we look at the fantastic Pamela Coleman Smith. Let me just see if I can stop the share for a second, and we can look at some questions or some thoughts that might have come up so far. Okay. Okay. So I went a zillion miles an hour into some pretty deep stuff about the tarot. I hope that wasn't, and if it was a bit like, what were you saying, Laura? Now is a chance to ask some questions. If you want to ask anything about the tarot so far, you can put your hands up or just speak, unmute yourself and speak. Please do. I'll just give this space. And hello to everyone that joined a little bit afterwards.
So, Laura, can you give a quick example of how you put that into a story when the cards are dealt and they're all in different order to that for somebody's
Yeah.
reading?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank
Again,
you.
like, it's lovely to see it as a story, as a soul story, but we very rarely go through life in that story. We can go through 1 minute we have the Tower, then we go back to the Fool, then we go there. But what is good to know is if those cards come up in a reading, you can see what part of that certain journey they're on. So I've got some tarot cards next to me, which is surprise to no one. I'm just going to be trying and pull out a couple of them with some minor arcana cards, which we'll go into. All the major ones come out apparently. So, okay. We have minor arcana too, thank you. So what came up is a bit of a different deck here. It's the Tower of the Sheep. It's the Hanged Man card straight away, then the Death card, and then the Magician. Okay, and then I ended up with the Eight of Pentacles afterwards. So this came from a reading, and I saw the Hanged Man, Death card, and the Magician coming up. You don't have to look at the journey of the soul, but you know at what point that this person is on, that they are, for some reason, they've been held back for a long time. Maybe they've been stuck, and it could be willingly, it could be unwillingly. So the Hangman is like, things are not moving forward, or if it's where they're just about to go, they can expect it to take a while. The Hanged Man rarely is doing it just to pee you off, though. The Hanged Man is, because it's a card of being seen life from a different perspective. The Hangman's hung upside down, so the blood goes to the head. You have visions. You see things very, very differently when you're hung upside down. So the idea is you're not meant to charge into this now. You're meant to wait, see things differently, research a different angle. You may have felt held back. You may not know why, but it's for a good reason. If it comes up in a way that doesn't look very we'll talk about reverse cards later, but if you don't feel it's a particularly happy Hangman card for whatever reason, that person could just be being blooming lazy. Sometimes the universe is going to kick you. The Hangman is often a spiritual journey, but it can be someone who's like, I don't want to move forward, you can't make me, no. And that's when literally the next card in the deck comes up. The Death card says, enough already, come on, we're going. So the story would be, for whatever reason, the person's stuck. The Death card comes up and takes the rug out from under them. The Death card, again, hopefully no scream to everybody, or hope you don't experience that in your reading, though it was quite funny in hindsight, that people see the Death card as an awful thing. I know you guys will all know this, but if nothing ended in our lives, we'd still be toddlers. If school hadn't ended, if we hadn't left our first partner, if we hadn't stopped eating a certain thing, we'd never evolve. We have to shift and change, and it can be exceptionally painful, but this is the card of evolution. So the Hangman saying, then the Death card, things have been stuck, things are going to change so strongly. It might be dramatic, you might not love it, but at the other side is the Magician. I kind of feel that's like the butterfly out the cocoon. You've been in this time in that cocoon, you've then been through a dramatic experience, and suddenly you've emerged with life, with light, with new energy coming in. So if this is someone's story, it might show that some hope, that things are stuck. It might not be pretty, but who you are on the other side is going to be not only filled with new energy, filled with that spark of life again, but with the Eight of Pentacles, able to manifest that into some really powerful work. So that's just a little sort of way of seeing it. I hope that it's just a general example. The thing is, we get a lot in our heads when we're doing tarot readings at first, particularly as well. We get anxious, and it stops us from just going with the flow. The tarot does want to tell you a story, and when we allow ourselves to go with it, and that's often through practice and through throwing yourself in the deep end and practicing with friends or just saying what you see, it will show us the story. And also, everyone's different, aren't they? Everyone's reading is different. Sometimes you can have a card which is absolutely beautiful, but you get a really funny feeling you're telling me that it isn't good in this reading, and it's learning in time to trust all of that. Thank you. Any more thoughts or questions? Please do. anything in the chat, just don't be shy. You're welcome to ask. You don't have to. I'm not going to force you, but you're welcome to. And we're going to have space at the end as well to ask. The only thing I wanted to say that I've not brought up about this already. And also you talk about the story as well. The different spreads help you with that as well. I often find spread placement can help you tell the story. So you find a spread that you like, or you can choose one for that particular question. So I have a particular spread for relationships, or for like the 3 months ahead. I like doing 3 months ahead. That's my happy amount of time, 3 months ahead. So you can choose the cards and put them in a spread that you like, and that helps you understand the meaning and the placement. And I always like to start a reading by looking at how that person is actually feeling and what's going on around them. I always feel that's a nice place to start. It grounds you in the reading, and it allows them to feel seen, I think, as well, to feel, okay, whatever's going on, you know. And the thing it took me blooming years to do is just to say the thing, even if it sounds really weird. Like, you can get that feeling that you're really wanting to say something in a reading, and you're like, this just sounds stupid, I'm not going to say it. And then later they'll say, oh yeah, I've always thought about being an astronaut. And you go, oh, I didn't say it. And no one believes you when you said, oh, I was going to say that, you know, worst psychic ever. So the worst thing you can say is if you say astronaut and they go, no, I don't get that. You go, never mind, continue. No one minds that. You'll mind it if you didn't say it, because it's like, Kat, you'd like to say something, my love.
Yes, you were hitting on something that I was going to ask about, because I know that sometimes when I'm doing readings, and for me, they're more effective when I have time with the cards.
Yeah.
So, and I do some writing, and then I get this automatic writing. But there are times when you're either in person or you're writing, when do you feel sometimes that it's not you, that you've like stepped back, and then all of a sudden all of this goes blah 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 blah, and you go, did I just write that?
Yeah. And I think that's it. You're in it then, aren't you? That's when you're in it. Because the bit that's you is often going, oh, I shouldn't say that, or oh, no. And it's not often been that helpful in this particular case. So yeah, when you can step back and allow it to flow, which is why I speak so blooming fast when I'm doing readings, because it's just kind of going, it's just coming through. But yeah, it's learning to trust that, isn't it? And I think you're really right. A really nice way to do it is through automatic writing. And that's a really nice way to get to know the cards as well. You know, like you do morning pages, or just set a timer. And one of my favorites, the star card. Just pick up a card, your card for the day, and just put a timer on for 5-10 minutes on your phone, and just write whatever you see about the card. And that's a lovely way to get to know the cards. You're noticing you didn't notice before. You'll feel it in a different way. You'll just channel something wonderful, or just create a nice space to connect. So yeah, automatic writing or kind of morning page style, just letting it all go is a really like. And also maybe doing a meditation. So you can pick a nice one, because it's a nice card, where you step into the card. Wonderful way to get to know it better, also to help heal a certain part of your life. So the star card is comes after the tower. So the shit has hit the fan. It's all gone a bit explosive. Your tower is lying on the floor in fire and in ashes, and suddenly the star card brings that soothing, cooling energy. The star card is hope. It's starfire. It's divine light. When everything seems to have gone down the drain, that sense of the bigger picture, life gives you a gift, life gives you something beautiful. And so if you're needing hope or inspiration or healing, the star cards are a really nice one to work with, whether you do a little meditation with it, just have it up with a candle or a crystal, or write with it. And you can just find your favorite variety of this card. Thankfully there's so many different tarot cards out there, and hold it until you get to know the imagery really well. Like stare at it. Then you could even put a drumming track on, or some nice meditation music, and just let your eyes start to close. And as they start to close, just step into it and explore the card. Ask the questions of the characters. How does it feel? How does it taste? How does it smell? You know, what is the feeling inside that card? It will give you a new and deeper perspective of the tarot. And also a nice way, I said about writer's block, if you are writing or creating or a musician or whatever way you like to create in the world, maybe doing a ritual and you don't know how to move forward, you could just pull a card saying, you know, what does my creativity need right now? Okay, the Dancer King. So the King of Cups. So you could either bring the King of Cups, who is the king of water, the king of romance, the king of the wisdom of the heart, creativity, poetry. He's playing with his lovely dragon in the water, so he's not afraid of his emotions. He's actually very strong with his emotions. So maybe your creativity, your story needs this character. Maybe you need this energy to go to that next level of your creativity. It's really fun to use maybe 3 cards of the tarot and just write a little story. It can help remove blocks, bring inspiration, and yeah. And if you are, you know, in any part of your life feeling a bit stuck, you know, the tarot is great for helping you get unstuck. You know, what do I need for A, B, and C? And you know, pull a card. Again, we get more love. Ace of Cups. So true love, opening to love, opening to the heart, healing of the heart. The aces are those gifts. They are the new energy, the new experience. So something fresh. So yeah, I know I'm going on a million miles an hour about things, but I hope it's just giving you some ideas of access points in different ways into the tarot.
So Laura,
So,
if you
yes.
see
Sorry, lovely, go. Yes.
If you see something bad news coming up in somebody's reading, do you tell them bad news or do you keep it to yourself?
Really good question. And actually people do think that all the time, like, oh my God, you see this, you see that. And mostly in readings, people know when they're having a bad time. Like when they come to you, they know that it's not great. And actually what I found in the readings is the most powerful way I've ever been able to work with them is acknowledging where they're at or what's going on around them and giving a guide through that. So I don't think I go, oh, you know what, don't go out on Tuesday. You know, I don't like people that put people in fear. But sometimes you do see stuff, and I have seen it for people, like, you know, I don't blurt out and say so-and-so's whatever, but I do sort of say, let's guide through this. Let's find a way through the next few weeks, the next few months. Because realistically, the reading is about the person that asked and what they need to know. And the cards will be so, I think, very generous in showing you what they need. They'll be generous in showing you what they don't need. They'll do the best they can in the reading to help that person through a situation. So it's not often that it comes up that you're like, holy crap, everything's, you know, if things are about to go really bad for them, they might know that. And you could say, look, you know, you are going to go through a time of transformation. The word transformation is always a get out of jail free card. Everything's going wrong, transformation, you know. Like all change is a good like just say the right words, you know. Get a time where things are going to really change, you know, releasing the old, you know, just find the right words to kind of open that door for them without scaring people. So, okay, and then there's going to be a guide through that. So not often do people, I mean, doing it for 20 odd years, it's not often you see something awful that they have to know. It's usually, okay, how to move forward, and so they can be the best self they can in whatever situation's going on for them. I think that's always the highest self wants to come through in a reading and guide them through. No one has to listen. I've done so many readings where I'm like, please don't stalk him. Please don't. Like, please. No one listens. I'm like, your higher self doesn't. I mean, joking. It's not really about stalking, but you know that feeling of all done readings where someone's obsessed. I've been there too, completely obsessed, you know, with someone and wanting them to love you. And the higher self, the cards are going, not you, but we're still there hitting the wall. So the cards often want to guide you the best way through, but people have free will and we can all choose what to do with that. And that's always a really good thing to say. You know, that free will, people, you know, I said earlier about power. People want to give you the power as a tarot reader, and it's not what you want. You don't want the power to make decisions for them. That's not helping anybody. People will say, should I do this? It's like, let's reframe that. If anyone ever throws at me, should I do this, or should I leave my job, or does, you know, because like, what would it look like if you left your job? What's the, you know, it's a really good way to kind of put it back into their court. Not because, you know, you're not being lazy. It's not mine or your responsibility to make a decision for anybody else. But we can give the likely outcomes of all these different things. So, you know, what would be the best pathway with your career right now? Or, you know, yeah, if you did do this, what does it look like? But yeah, that's a really good one, because especially when you're just new, people just love to ask from, basically it's not their fault, they've been told that's how they approach tarot readings. It's our job to kind of re-educate people that we're not here to do it for them. It is their role, and we're here as a guide in that. But it's always good to talk to people and say, let's shift that perspective, because they'll feel better at the end of the day. No one feels good at the end of the reading if they feel out of control, if they feel like the powers were taken away from them and they have to sit there and wait or be afraid. If you come away from a reading and you have that maybe sometimes harsh news that you have to do it yourself, you come away from that reading with a kind of a kit to get started. You come away with all the tools you need to move forward, even if you don't want to do the thing. And I think that's what I really like about the tarot, is it gives people that tools. So it's always good to really think about how you're asking your questions in a reading, and if you have a client, to really bring them into taking their power back within that space as well. Did I answer that question? So I think I might have gone a zillion ways.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you.
Anybody else? I'm just going to go into the rest of the, I can't remember what's in the rest of the PowerPoint, but I think we've kind of gone on to way cosmic a subjects than I was talking about in the PowerPoint, but I'm very happy to return to cosmic subjects. But let's have a little look and see where, if I can get it to share again. Okay. Oh, I didn't I? I had the thing. There we go. Magic. Okay. Oh, not me again. There's my face. Right. Okay. Let's get me out of the picture. And that one, we did that one. And that one. We've kind of done that one as well. Okay. Fool's Journey. That's a good one. I know I've mentioned it a little bit already. But it's so interesting in older versions of the tarot, that the meanings of the tarot have changed with our own society's shifts. So the Fool was in the original decks, it did represent the court jester, or someone that's a bit more, the village nitwit, or someone that wasn't clued up. And the Moon card used to, and still does, represent insanity. Where now we're like, hold the phone. The Moon is about the divine feminine and about the intuition and following, but we've been through periods of a society where intuition and following it and trusting your gut was thought of as insanity. So you can look at older versions of the tarot and see different meanings. And although it's good to know them, it's also good to kind of allow your current feelings of the tarot to work. So the Moon is now a card. Yes, it can mean that we've got a bit lost and we don't know our way, but it also is a card of really feeling deep into our own unconscious and to understanding our intuition. And the Fool, with I am a bit of a Star Wars fan, and George Lucas used the tarot to create Star Wars. And lots of films will have the themes of the major arcana in them. And the characters, like I mentioned just earlier, you have Gandalf and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and those kind of Merlin, those wandering wizard characters that appear in so many different movies, and they are the hermit. And literally the Fool, what's the main character of the old Star Wars films called? Luke Skywalker, and the Fool walks in the sky. So, and he is that innocent hero at the beginning of a film. I want to do this, that kind of slightly annoying but pure and innocent soul that's about to jump into his life journey that will change him and allow him to grow. And there's so many more Star Wars references I'll go into, but I won't do that to you right now. That's a different day. But the Fool can come up at any time in our lives. And yes, sometimes in a reading, you don't think the Fool's not always a good thing. If you've got to make a very important business decision and your colleague is jumping around like this, being no responsibilities, freedom, it can be very stressful. But usually the Fool represents, that new energy, that new feeling, leaping into the unknown, having that almost childlike feeling of what happened before you knew it would hurt. He's about to leap. He doesn't know he'd fall. If you don't know you'll fall, will you fall? He's very sure that he's going to be able to fly or walk into the abyss. And you see a lot of the Fool cards where they are. So it's a lightness of spirit. It's the new journey, the opening. And we are the fool sometimes going into our readings to experience the different aspects of the tarot. So when we learn the tarot, we go on that fool's journey. We begin with maybe not knowing too much or having some ideas, and go through each card as a mini journey and initiation through life's challenges and adventures and heartbreaks to shape our own destiny. And I think having an awareness, I know that I think Joseph Campbell puts this as the hero's journey, which is very much based on the map of the tarot as well, that it is good to map out our own journeys. We can feel very lost at sea sometimes, and actually having the tarot as a reference to where we are on our path can be really, really helpful. And then dealing with the bad cards, like I know we've been through this a little bit already, and I told you about the lady that screamed. And you get some people, even if they're new to tarot, who are like, I'm not afraid of it, it's all fine. And you'll get some people who are, these are the older cards, they look pretty, pretty full on. I've written a lot and thought a lot about the Devil card as a force a force of human power, which in the Devil card it's seen as what happens when it's corrupted. But the Devil card is not necessarily a bad card at all. It's ruled by Capricorn. And you have any Capricorns out there, and you're kind of going, oh, what? Okay, the Devil represents a corrupt version of power, but these are all, a lot of the modern cards for the Devil in a different way. It's a force of nature. It's human carnal desire and power. It's also, you can see the Devil's a corrupted mirror of the Lover's card as well. What I also feel was interesting about the Devil in this is like, we're kind of blaming him. The Devil made me do it. He doesn't even look very, he looks like a cutout there. Like we can blame the Devil for all the things we're doing wrong. But the deep black behind there is the unconscious. It's the things that can chain us if we don't understand those depths of our unconscious energy that can cause addiction, that can cause obsessions. And the Devil card's a really healing card because it can bring all that out to the surface. And that's why it's in the last set, the last row, because we're ready to face those old demons, those old fears, those things that chain us, and to release them and to heal them. And the Death card also, yes, it's something we all have to face, etc. But if we can see in the far right background and below the white horse, there's a little river that's going. Obviously, if you've got the Death card, you can look at it a bit more clearly. There's a river that's passing a boat, and the river goes out there into the sunset or the sunrise. So even in the older versions of the Death card, we're showing that isn't the end, that the spirit is going on and that there is rebirth. So sometimes the Death card can come up as ending a habit, ending an era of our life, a relationship, a friendship, but it can often come up as a spiritual change, that we're having to learn those hard lessons of letting go so that we can, have that rebirth, so we can go on and be lighter. And what is always true, and if anyone ever freaks out about cards that come up for them in the tarot, if you have a client that does, remember the 78 degrees, they're 78 mirrors of our soul. There is nothing in the tarot, nothing that does not exist within us somewhere. This is stuff coming from within. People often see the tarot as some external force that's coming up to tell them what to do or what's going on. And I'm not gonna lie, the tarot can definitely kick our butt when we need it, but it's within us. It is the degrees of our soul. When people understand that, then there's not so much to fear. This isn't, this is a part of our life, our experience, and the facets of ourselves being reflected within the cards. And yeah, the minor arcana. So the 4 elements of the minor arcana, I know you probably all know this, but I'll just go over it briefly. You have the Ace of the Wands of fire. So fire signs that Aries, Sagittarius, Leo will be really probably highly connected to these cards. The Pentacles, Earth, your Virgos, Taurus, and Capricorns will be more maybe feeling that energy. The Ace of Cups, the Suit of Cups, water signs. Your Cancerian, Piscean, and Scorpios, all in that water sign. And the Suit of Swords are the air signs, Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. And if you ever look at the Suit of Swords, the air signs get a really tough deal. A really full-on suit. And that's because our thoughts can be our own worst enemies, and the way we use our minds can be quite cruel and stressful. But I do think in some of the remakes of the tarot that the swords do come across better these days, because come on, let's give the air signs a break. So within each of these suits, what we look at in the course as well is there are amazing astrological correspondences that go throughout each of the suit, and it's really fascinating. So you have different planetary aspects of each of the star signs throughout the suit, and there's some suits you'll get really a great connection with, some suits will be a bit harder, but they are equally as important as the major arcana cards, and they show us our own journeys. So from the ace to the 10, we see how we can express each of those energies. And not only do we look at things astrologically, we look at numerology as well. If anyone ever sits there and freaks out about learning all the cards, or how do we remember all the cards, it's remembering that there's actually some really good tools you can use to, to just get the meanings. So you might get a psychic knowing about a card, but if you're sitting there going, I got nothing, help, it's really good to use these 3 tools. To use the astrology, so you look at the astrology of the card, you know what elements, what energies are in play. Numerology, really important, because they tell a story. So, for example, it's 2s, it can be about couples, about balance, about harmony. If it's 4s, it's about a structure that can be good, but isn't one that's maybe meant to stay. It's a sort of a structure which can be positive or that can be restrictive. And you have 10, which is the end of that suit, so it's a culmination point for good or for not so good. So you can also, on the 3rd tool you have, is look at the colors. The colors will speak to you. You know, if they're fiery, bright action colors, if they're calm, deep, watery, emotional colors, if they're practical, earthy colors, or if they're muted and sort of maybe a bit depressed colors. You've got those tools at your disposal. As well as looking at the pictures, you can use astrology, numerology, and colors to give you a really good clue about what's going on. Because not every day is Christmas. You're going to have a reading and you're going to go, oh my God, I'm a bit tired today, I'm not getting anything. And actually, having those tools at your disposal can just leapfrog you into a deeper reading. So it's like checking in with that and then actually going a bit deeper, and it's a really, really fun way of working. Yes, that is my tarot school. So yeah, we do go in a lot slower, and I do put you in the deep end as well. So we have Zoom chats, they're all live, and we go through each card and we go in through all of those different aspects and more of each card, and we look at the mythology, we look at the astrology, we look at the different ways of reading, looking at doing rituals with the cards. There's a lot. It's 10 weeks, and people that have been on the course have gone on to become professional tarot readers. Quite a lot of people have done that. Have gone on to have their own YouTube channels and Instagram channels about tarot, and mostly have just learnt the tarot after maybe trying for a long time for their own personal benefit, and get a lot from understanding the tarot on a deeper level. And right, I don't know what time we've got, but what I'm thinking is I might send you guys a recording of this, because I have got a journey for us to do with the High Priestess. But what I might do, because I'd like to open the stage for some more questions, is do this and send it to you guys as a meditation to meet the High Priestess. Because right now I would more prefer to listen to you and to see what you guys have to say. And I know we haven't got loads of time left, it's almost 8 o'clock, so it's because we went into cosmic places, that's why. Now, are there any more questions or thoughts, or anything you'd like to ask? Anything at all? Oh yes, please.
Quick question. So when you have, because I know I'm probably not the only one guilty of having numerous tarot decks.
Don't know what you mean, Kat.
I know, right? So do you have specific ones that you use for specific types of readings, where you're going to I'm going to use this deck from the ancestors, I'm going to use this deck for...
Yeah, definitely. You can't see the piles of cards by my side, and that's not even half of it. Oh my God. I think it's the worst thing of being an artist and a tarot reader. You've got both sides, just where you just keep... I've been quite good recently about buying tarot cards. But yeah, I have some decks, because if I go to an event, like I do a lot of tarot events where people will hire me to come to parties or whatever to do readings, and they think it's a joke, and I come down and I go, all right, dudes, it's real. Oh my god. And for that situation, I'm gonna need a good all-rounder. So I'm gonna need a deck that, because people might come up at any state, I don't know what building I'm going to be in, I need a deck that's going to be like, no matter what comes at me, we got this. So I have a few all-rounders and I'm like, these are my core, that no matter what question comes at me or where I'm going to be, I can trust this relationship with this deck is really epic. And that might not be the Wildwood Tarot, for example, because that's for people that maybe have a bit more of a spiritual path, they're connected to the earth, the land, the ancestors. So if I was going to do a reading for people that were on their spiritual path or at a retreat, I might use the Wildwood Tarot more. So yeah, I've got my all-rounders. If I'm feeling like I get the Thoth out and go, come on guys, let's do this, because the Thoth will do all-rounders, it will do anything, but it might just not it might not give you the fluffy answer. It will just give you the, I'm channeling some stuff here and you're gonna have to deal with it. But yeah, and there's some decks I'm very ashamed to say that I have, and I very rarely use them because my all-rounders are so blooming good. So I have bought many decks which don't get used very often. I know that probably you guys have the same thing. There's a lot of deals. I've also got a question in the chat as well. Oh, she got to go. Family issue. Thank you so much, Beverly, for attending tonight. Really have a nice evening, and I hope everything goes well with your family. And I will send out a meditation as well that we were going to do. But I think it's nice to have some decks of cards that you just have for yourself as well. Some people get really funny about people touching their tarot cards. I really don't mind, because I've done for so many years. It's like, but there's some decks I might use for ritual or use for personal use, which I'd rather people didn't touch, actually, which is why it's good to have the all-rounder cards, which you'll know are going to go out, be touched by the world, and then you might have a deck that you use for you as well without everybody else's energy on them. Yeah, any more questions about anything, really? Welcome to ask.
So Laura, because I'm such a beginner, do you get the client to shuffle the cards then, or do you shuffle them for them, or does it change?
That's really interesting, because I think it's your own personal rituals you build up that feel right. There's no right or wrong with that. Some people like the client to do it. I have a funny thing where I get them to do it, then I take it off them and do it myself, which probably freaks them. Like, why? I like them to do it because it focuses them. It means that they're, especially if I'm doing lots of different readings, it brings it to them. So I say, think about whatever you want to know about, think about your life, your questions, let them shuffle. But I like to shuffle because it puts me in the space of, so I give it to them, then I take it back and I shuffle. But you can do it however you like. You might want to put 3 piles, get them to choose a pile. You might just want them to do it. You might want them not to touch it at all. So I think we just build up our own personal rituals over time, and you might just try a few things and see what works for you.
Thank you.
Sarah, you're going to ask a question, weren't you? Sorry, I think you unmuted yourself. Oh, come on. Zoom's still muted. Sorry, I think you're still muted. If I can unmute you, I'm not sure if I can. Let me just see. You did unmute yourself, but then you're currently muted still.
Hello.
Oh, there you are. Yay.
Did it? Yeah, I wanted to ask you about I've recently just started doing sort of more professional readings for people and doing kind of more events. So I've got a lot of readings, kind of one after the other. And it can be really draining.
Yeah, it really can.
Yeah. I want to talk about how you can really protect your energy, because obviously you've been a lot of energy, and it's like counselling, really, isn't it? And they're bringing all that stuff to you, and you're their emotions, and it's quite intense.
Yeah, hugely. And it's having a bit of a practice of really beforehand as well, because you don't get much time between people just queuing up, and you don't get much time to have a break between. You can have something on your table that you use, like a spray or a bell or something that helps to kind of clear the energy between readings. Maybe a crystal. To be fair, it can be so manic sometimes that I don't have the time to do that. But before you start, you set your space up really well. And you do something really good for you. You make sure that you do a little meditation, so a little put yourself in a little egg. You know, when you're obviously doing the tarot, I know that you all know this, that psychic protection is part of it. So you just do a really thorough or quick, no matter how much time you've got, visualization to put yourself in a space and the space around you and the cards in a safe space. And afterwards, I just do a lot of cleansing of everything. If you can ring a bell or spray or just do something nice, a little ritual between each reading, it can just bring you back into a space as well. Or oil, essential oil, rub it on your hands, something to bring you into space.
Yeah.
But I think it's mostly before. Remembering to look after yourself throughout this.
Yeah.
I always think when drinking lots of water, I'm just clearing each time, like water, clear, water, clear. They need to pee and then people get annoyed. But yeah, it's hard, and I think it's just not pushing yourself too hard with that as well, because it can be a bit exhausting to say the least, and doing really good grounding for yourself afterwards as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sounds
That's all right. My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck with it all as well. Thank you. Anybody else got any questions before I leave you for your day and evening? You're welcome to ask anything. So no matter how new to it your experience you are, I know we've kind of gone into some sort of deeper stuff today, but there's no silly questions. No? You good? Okay, cool. So I will, as soon as I have time to do the meditation, I think I have expectations of what we can fit into an hour that is potentially not actually that realistic. I will send it out to you guys over the next few days. Hopefully my laptop will be returned. And yeah, if you would like to come and join the tarot school, I would love to see you there. We start on October the 7th, I think. It's in about a month's time. And if you're new or if you're more experienced, this is a great space to just expand. And I say that every time I go through the cards, it's not one time I don't learn something new about them. And I just love that. I love that these cards. So whether you do the tarot school or not, just know that people, once I did a reading for someone, they said, no, I've learned it all. I know it all. And I'm like, wow, like that's impressive, because I never think I've learned it all. I know I've not learned it all. And I always know that there's more journeys. Like I know a bit about the Kabbalah and the tarot. And that's a crazy, fascinating place in itself. So we do a bit of that, because I open that doorway to look at. That's just fascinating. If you look at the Thoth deck and the ancient Egyptian energies within that, you can go down that rabbit hole, and that's fascinating. So there's so many different alleys and journeys you can go down. But you don't have to. The tarot provides you with guidance if you don't know very much, and you can open it and you can see that image and you can start to read it. So that's what I love about it. You can, on a very quick level, learn something which will help you and help other people, but also can be a lifelong tool for journeying, exploring, and for magic. So thank you so much for coming, guys. Any questions, just let me know or send me any messages. But thanks for being here, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much, Laura.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.